The news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Thursday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
Boy, did that rain come down for quite a while last night, and now it's nice and dry.
Yeah, pretty quiet for now, but as you head in the afternoon and the evening, we got to keep our eye to the sky, Gary. For the day today, we do have a risk for some storms to move through, and we got some updates. So I ran through some of the data this morning, and just to emphasize, so we made today Weather Aware Day yesterday, but there are signals pointing to a potentially higher risk for rotating storms as this front moves through. We're talking a slightly increased risk for tornadoes. Now, bear with me here. These are types of systems that you need everything to kind of go right to produce severe weather. It's not certain, but we run the risk of it. We got some hail possible, tornadoes, non-zero risk, but certainly higher chance compared to yesterday. And of course, as always, those embedded, strong, possibly damaging wind gusts as this front rolls through. This is between 1 and 7. So this morning into the late morning and early afternoon, there's no risk whatsoever. Just make sure you're weather aware as we head into this afternoon. And again, in a few minutes, we'll be diving into some of the more details regarding this frontal boundary. But nonetheless, we got some activity out to the west, a few scattered showers. We're already pushing near 60 with cloudy skies, damp conditions, some patchy fog as well. Now you see here we're pushing the mid to upper 70s this afternoon. You see those storm risks increase. I'll break down the hour-by-hour forecast, the window of severe weather, and everything you need to know to plan out your day coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. Well, News Channel 2 has...
This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Welcome back to Sunrise on this Thursday morning. So far, what a week we've had. Yesterday evening, just downright gorgeous. I smelled the smoke of bonfires, well, not bonfires, but little outdoor fires outside, and it reminded me of summertime. And sure enough, a lot of folks out enjoying the warmth. We have another relatively warm morning out here today. Current conditions nearing 60 degrees. Certainly feels humid, a bit damp out there though. Might encounter some patchy fog, more low-level ground fog, as well as maybe a few areas of light drizzle. And we do have a couple of spotty rain showers. It will not be an entirely dry morning, to put in perspective compared to what we saw, at least in terms of conditions, yesterday afternoon. But today, we're going to see highs in the 70s. Rain chances develop as we head toward the evening. And I want to focus on what takes place here between the window of 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. This is the time frame where we could see a severe storm or two begin to develop. And this is right here, as you can see the skycast move through. There's the frontal boundary. Following 7 p.m., severe risk is done. So that's the window. Again, we'll break down in a lot more detail the risks and a lot more timing of this coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Lululemon is being invested.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everybody. On this Thursday, I'm continuing to comb over some data that's coming in over the last few minutes, and I want to give you guys all the latest updates and what we could be expecting throughout the day today. Let's first take a look at downtown Utica. A bit damp out there this morning, but it's rather warm out. We're already pushing the low 60s to start, and it remains rather warm this afternoon, hitting the mid 70s to potentially upper 70s. So, the story of the last few days has been this stationary front over pretty much all of the Northeast. It's been providing us with these kind of wacky weather scenarios, severe risk, and basically everything that you can expect for a severe season in early spring. So, luckily, we've been kind of spared from the brunt of some of these storms. There was a confirmed tornado out in western New York, again in the same rough area as the first one that was discovered earlier in the year. But Here locally, you see where the bullseye of the risk for strong storms are in the Northeast. Pretty much right over our area, right? And looking at the latest trends, we've got a couple of things to mention. So first, this is the risk for strong storms in general. Level 2 out of 5 risk. Damaging wind, strong wind gusts, primary concern. Same thing, these could be performing or producing hailstones. These are possible rotating storms. Anytime you get those rotating and strong updrafts, hail is certainly a possibility. But I want to focus on this because this is something that increased overnight tonight. The risk for tornadoes has increased to 5%, which it's not a lot, guys. We're talking 5 out of 100 chance, but it's increased. It's non-zero. Anytime we see that risk non-zero, we take it seriously. And personally, I'll take flack if things don't turn out possibly turning severe, but I'd rather keep you guys informed of scenarios like this. So we see here, we've got some sunshine clearing up between 1 p.m. and roughly 6 to 7 p.m. This is our window where we could see some storms develop ahead of this frontal boundary here. Once the front rolls through, the biggest risk are just strong winds, thunder and lightning, maybe some hail mixing in, but the rotating storm chance always happens ahead of the frontal boundary. That's where you have the prime ingredients for those storms to form. Once this heavy rain rolls through, by the overnight hours tonight, severe risk is done. This is not an overnight scenario, thankfully, but still, again, as a recap, these are the risks. You see the tornado risk has increased. Hail risk has remained the same thing with some strong wind gusts. Obviously, the typical flooding scenarios with some stronger downpours are certainly a possibility. But as of now, you're going to see in real time, we're going to switch the aware day this morning to likely an alert day. I think this is definitely warranting the observation that we should be keeping a close eye on these storms this afternoon, because if any of them do turn severe, it could be notable, and that's something we want to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, definitely. They'll be keeping an eye out for you guys over in the Weather Center today. Eric, thanks. Well, traveling is getting more expensive again, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. If you are getting ready to head out the door, Eric, it's kind of dry right now, right?
Yeah, rather quiet right now, Gary. Maybe a few light sprinkles, a bit misty, a bit foggy, but certainly like the downpour we saw last night. However, as we head toward the afternoon, we do expect the potential for some storms to roll through, and a couple of them could be on the strong to possibly severe side. Here's a look at our severe weather risk categories and the zone with the highest potential. Yellow. Level 2 out of 5 risk, and that's certainly right over central New York right now. So what has changed in the forecast compared to yesterday? Well, I'll start out by what's remained the same. Strong, possibly damaging wind gusts and hail are the two primary risks with these storms that do form. The secondary risk has now been increased to include a possible tornadic storm. Now, I know when I say this, obviously when we talk tornadoes, I don't want to bring up any type of weather anxiety, because it's a real thing, and especially with the situations we've experienced over the last few years, I don't want to share something that I don't feel I'm confident in. And sure enough, on a day like today, I think it warrants my concern to keep a close eye on the radar, just based off of the ingredients present in the atmosphere. We look right now, this morning, it is rather quiet, maybe a passing downpour. The severe risk does not kick in until the early afternoon, until roughly 6 to 7 p.m. Once that front passes behind it, we begin to see quieter conditions, at least non-severe conditions. We're pushing 60 in the Mohawk Valley right now, hitting the upper 70s by this evening. You see here these storms begin to roll through. There's that frontal boundary, and then we have a cooler Friday on tap. So we'll talk about that, but again, going in a lot more detail in the hour-by-hour forecast for the storms today coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Yesterday, the same day, the Senate
Track storms. This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Welcome back to Sunrise on this Thursday morning. Yes, we got a lot to talk about in terms of storm risk today and potential cool down as we head toward the end of the week into the weekend. But in the meantime, let's just take a step back and showcase a Great photo submission sent in to us. This was sent in from Laurens by Cindy. Look at this, great shots of the wavy, beautiful, vibrant clouds of a sunset in Laurens. Shout out to those of you tuning in from Laurens this morning. Frequent drive when I go around there when I head to Oneonta, roughly around once a month for my monthly haircut. But either way, if you have a photo like this you'd like to share with us, go to WKTV.com/weather/pics, especially when we're talking spring photos. I'd love to see some of your blooming flowers here and there. That photo and every photo every morning brought to you by GPO Federal Credit Union. Gary?
Well, you're dedicated to that barber all the way down in Oneonta, huh?
He's the best.
Yeah.
Shout out Andy.
It shows. Eric, thanks. Well, students and staff from
Most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everybody. Today we are keeping our eye to the sky as we're watching the development of a few storms this afternoon, which could be on the strong to severe side. Let's take a look at downtown Utica right now. A bit damp out there, but not too bad condition-wise. We've got, of course, a few scattered rain showers here along that stationary front that's been bringing us some kind, at least pretty decent kinds of wacky weather over the last few days. Warmth, cool downs, rain, sunshine. But either way, we're going to see this trailing frontal boundary begin to move its way eastward. And this is where we're going to be seeing the potential for severe weather this afternoon. So, you see the scale, the color scale up on the top here. You go from green to yellow, then to brown, red, and then pink. Now, yellow is level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. And you can see here a lot of central New York included in that zone. Now, the typical scenarios that we mentioned yesterday, strong, possibly damaging wind gusts and hail being the two biggest concerns. But an elevated concern now that is higher than it was yesterday is the risk for tornadoes. Now at 5% in the brown zone, 2% in the green zone. Anytime we're in a 5 to 10% percentage chance of seeing a tornado, we definitely want to take it seriously, just based off of the parameters we're seeing in the atmosphere. So, timing it out, this is noontime today. It's still rather quiet. We're in the 70s, maybe a passing shower, but severe chances do not take place between now and noon. Roughly around 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., this is when we start to see the sunshine break out, and this is where our severe window begins. Severe windows are basically windows of weather or windows of time where a storm can fire up and possibly turn severe. It doesn't mean between 1 and, say, 7 o'clock we're going to see storms the entire time. They'll be incredibly isolated, but if they do form, there's plenty of ingredients: shear, lift, instability, and moisture present to form these isolated, what are called supercells or rotating storms to form. However, models, of course, always have difficulty in having them pop up ahead of the frontal boundary, which arrives right around 7 o'clock. Once that pushes through, the biggest risk for this, lightning, heavy rain, maybe some stronger wind gusts. And then following that, overnight tonight, risk no longer a concern. In fact, rather damp as we head overnight. 68 the high on Friday, 75, dry to start Saturday. Rain develops late Saturday night. But again, today we have upgraded to a weather Storm Tracker 2 alert day, just for the possibility of those storms turning severe. So on a day like today, it's always good that if you're out and about, just have our Storm Tracker 2 app handy, or any way you can receive warnings, just in an area that you can quickly have access to information. It's nothing to be very concerned about, but always good to make sure you're in the know on a day like today in case something does happen.
And keep your eyes on WKTV NBC.
That's right.
If needed, we'll break in with coverage. Eric, thanks. Governor Hochul says vulnerable New
With Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Thursday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And on this Thursday, the bus stop won't be too bad, but you're keeping an eye out for the afternoon.
That's right, Gary. We do have some storm risk this afternoon, and some of the storms could be on the strong side. Let's take a look right now at the latest information that has been coming in. And keep in mind, guys, while we're on air, or while at least I personally am not on air, I am combing over data. I'm looking at a lot of different things behind the scenes here on what we can expect today. And at least when I came in, certainly things have changed in terms of severe risk, mainly when it comes to tornado risk. That has increased. Still, though, I do want to emphasize this is not a particularly extremely concerning event, but it's one of those days where it's good to have a way to have warnings sent right to your phone, like our Storm Tracker 2 app. And listen, I know this is our app, but it works, and it works very well. And especially when it comes to your safety, I wouldn't push anything if it didn't work like we wanted it to. So what it does, if you're out and about, if you're driving, if you're out gardening, or if you're out just doing yard work, this tool will send a warning right to your phone of a nearby lightning strike, downpours, and especially warnings. Now, today, biggest risks, strong wind gusts, hail from supercells or rotating storms that could form ahead of this frontal boundary. But nonetheless, we take a look right now at the radar. Things are looking rather quiet. We zoom out, we got a few showers here. These are non-severe. The window of severe weather risk today is mainly between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. So right now we're in the 60s. It's cloudy, it's damp, a bit foggy in some spots. We pushed the mid-70s with that storm risk developing in the evening. Again, we're going to time this out for you in a lot more detail coming up in a couple of minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. News Channel 2 has obtained documents completed by...
This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Good morning, everybody. Time now is 6:12, and here's a look at what you can expect throughout your day today and your forecast in a minute. And pretty much the big story today, severe weather risk this afternoon. This morning, though, it's not too bad out there. We're in the 60s now officially. Calm winds, decently humid out there. But overall, it's rather quiet. Yorkville Battery Live radar picking up on a few scattered rain showers to our west. These are non-severe, moderate rain showers here and there. So the morning is rather quiet, nothing concerning to expect in the early half of the day today. As we head toward the evening, however, afternoon and evening, that's where our window of severe weather opportunity can take place. In fact, we look right here in our Skycast, following a passing shower this morning between roughly 1 to 7 p.m., 6 to 7 hour window here is where we could see a storm that could roll through, possibly turning severe before a frontal boundary moves through and then things begin to weaken. So just keep your eye to the sky today. We'll, of course, dive into the details regarding the severe risk, what we know, what we don't know, and everything you need to know coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Lululemon is being investigated for its clothing material.
Omni, we got your back.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everybody. It's a cloudy, damp, maybe misty start to your day today. Temperatures pushing the low 60s. Not too bad out there this morning. A look outside in downtown Utica. However, as we head into the afternoon, we've got, of course, warmer temperatures, some sunshine chances, but also some storm chances, and we'll get to that here in a second. First, though, here's a look at the radar and satellite. We've got that pesky stationary front over us that's been pretty much lingering over New York State over the last several days and bringing with it some very interesting setups in terms of weather scenarios. Now, the weather scenario today, something we don't want to just ignore. So we have a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather in this yellow zone here in central New York. This is the highest risk zone in the local vicinity here in the Northeast, pretty much all the lower 48, by the way. But again, not a big zone. If we were talking enhanced or moderate risk, then it'd be a much different story. But still, the biggest risks are potential for strong, possibly damaging winds, some hail, due to rotating updrafts, but also the increased risk for tornadoes, which increased compared to the data we saw yesterday. We're now at 5% in the brown zone and 2% in the green zone. But those are just minuscule numbers. They're non-zero though, and that's the big story today, because we have all the ingredients present once this frontal boundary rolls through, say 1 p.m. to around 7 p.m. That's our window here, where basically we've got everything lined up. We've got winds in the upper atmosphere favoring severe development. We've got lift, we've got the front moving in, we've got moisture, we've got instability, thunderstorm fuel. Basically, we're kind of walking on a tightrope. We're just waiting for something to ignite a storm, and when it does, it could tap into that instability and turn severe. So that's why we're keeping our eye to the sky today, as we see highs push near 80. Eventually, this front's going to roll through around 7 p.m. Heavy rain, thunder, and lightning, maybe some severe warnings along this, but once it passes, our severe risk is done as we head into the overnight and for Friday. So this is just the window here between 1 and 7 today that you want to make sure you're weather aware. Again, the biggest risks, strong wind gusts, as well as thunder and lightning, hail a possibility, but it's not a high chance. It's a chance for it to happen. So because of that risk and the increased risk for rotating storms to possibly produce an isolated tornado, we have upgraded today to an alert day. So basically, it's a day like today where you want to make sure you have a way to receive warnings as soon as possible. Just have the ability to, be aware of something happening. Then, of course, you can tune into us here on WKTV. If it's something that's breaking, we'll be covering it here live.
Yeah, get that app.
Of course, a great tool to have, too, for that app.
Eric, thanks. Traveling is getting more expensive again, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. Meteorologist Eric Gage is over in the Weather Center. And Eric, you're tracking some storm potential today.
Yeah, that's right, Gary. We got some storm risk this afternoon. Let's just jump right into it. So we begin right now with quieter conditions. We'll show here momentarily, but this is for this afternoon. This is between roughly 1 and 7 p.m. You see this yellow zone here? This is the area that has the highest chance of seeing a strong to severe storm. Strong to possibly damaging wind gusts, some hail potential, but the one change that has taken place compared to the data we saw yesterday versus today, the tornado risk has increased. Now, it's not high, but it has increased. What that means is we've got to make sure we're extra cautious about these storms when they begin to form. We're going to be closely watching the development and, of course, any warnings that come along with them as well. Yorkville Battery Live radar. Right now, things are rather quiet to our west. We got a few scattered rain showers coming through. These are non-severe, by the way. The time frame from right now until roughly 1 p.m. today, you have nothing to worry about. No risk for severe storms. The only thing, maybe a passing shower. But from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., that's the window. You got to remain weather aware. See this thing below me here, that QR code? You can use your phone. You can scan it. It takes you right to a screen that goes to your Apple Store or Google Play Store, depending on if you have an Apple or Android, and it will download that Storm Tracker 2 app for you. And these give you warnings right to your phone as they happen, one of the fastest ways that you can get them. Now, today, we begin quiet. We're in the upper 50s, low 60s, and as we head into the afternoon, again, this window here between right here to around 6, 7 p.m., that's when you want to make sure you have those alerts on for your phone. Of course, if anything does happen, we'll be right here on WKTV with the latest details. We'll break down the timing of this in a lot more detail coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the storm forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. Well, yesterday, to pass a resolution that
News Channel 2 is brought to you by Holland Farms Bakery and Deli. This live look of downtown Cooperstown is brought to you by the Leatherstocking Credit Union.
Welcome back to Sunrise. The time now is getting close to 7 a.m. Trying to load my graphics here in the background. One of the photos that was sent to us recently was a great shot of the sunset taken in Lawrence. Look at this great photo right here, sent in by Cindy, of a vibrant sunset. Well, the vibrant oranges and purples and blues there, the silhouettes of the trees in the foreground. Amazing shot there. If you have a photo like this, maybe any spring photos of your flowers blossoming, send them right to WKTV.com/weather/pics. I'd love to see them. As sure as hope everyone else watching loves to see these amazing spring photos. Either way, that photo, every photo brought to you by GPO Federal Credit Union. Now today, we're watching the potential for a few storms to develop this afternoon. We'll be tracking those for you coming up in just a couple of minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks students and staff from Mohawk Valley.
Most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everybody. Today we are starting out quiet, a little damp, but this afternoon we got to remain weather aware for an approaching front having the possibility of producing severe weather. Here's a look outside in downtown Utica right now. As you see here, of course, the morning rush hour starting to get underway. And with it, too, we've got rather quiet conditions for the time being. We do have a couple of spotty showers heading in our direction, but for the most part, they are relatively unimpactful and, again, non-severe. However, as we head throughout the afternoon today, we've got to keep a close eye out for storm potential. And this is all driven in by a unique setup here with all these ingredients present for storms to tap into that instability and all that moisture to produce severe storms. See the yellow zone here, level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather, and it's pretty much focused right over New York State. Risk for damaging wind or just strong wind gusts, the biggest concern here. And then along with stronger winds, the risk for hail, also a concern. This is a hail and wind-driven system here. On top of that, the reason why we're focused a bit more on this than usual is because with the latest data overnight, the tornado risk has increased from 2% to 5% in the brown zone. Well, yes, it's still a slight fraction, but it's non-zero. It means there's a 5% chance of a tornado forming along some of these rotating storms. So if you're ever wondering about the reasoning for why we issue alert days, that's why. So today, you see here, we've got a quiet morning and early afternoon, maybe a passing shower. Between 1 and 7, this is our window here where storms could fire up, rotating storms could fire up, produce strong wind gusts, hail, downpours, thunder and lightning, and the isolated low chance for a tornado to form. Now, right here, once the front begins to roll its way through around 7 p.m., thunder and lightning here, heavier downpours. By the overnight hours, there's no severe risk. The front exits, we've got cooler temperatures, and the atmosphere doesn't support these types of storms to form. But again, as a recap, these are the big risks right here. And just make sure you're weather aware. Right below me, see that QR code? You scan it with your phone, takes to the App Store or Google Play Store. You can download our app, which is incredibly vital on a day like today because, of course, you might be out and about, you might not be necessarily next to your TV, and if a warning comes down, you'll be one of the first to get them using that app there. But either way, just make sure you're weather aware today. Not overly concerned, but still, we can't let our guard down on a day like today. So we'll have team coverage throughout the day. We'll have James, we'll have Bill in. We'll be closely watching the radar, so if anything happens, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, and that 80 degrees is kind of high for this time of year.
Yeah, unseasonably warm, but still, I mean, hopefully if no storms form, we'll get to enjoy at least some warm temperatures today.
Eric, thanks. Governor Hochul says...
With Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And you are definitely tracking some storms today. Today, an alert day.
Yeah, that's right. And we made it an alert day just because we saw things that looked suspicious, and just based off of previous conditions we've seen like this, we feel it warranted for this alert day to be in effect. And here's a look at our thoughts. So, level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. Normally in central New York, about as high as we go is usually at level 3. So anytime we're level 2, it's kind of our interpretation as to whether we issue alert days just based off of what we've seen and conditions and whatnot. The time frame is between 1 and 7 o'clock this afternoon into this evening. Once the cold front rolls through, the severe weather risk is over and done with. The biggest concerns: strong, possibly damaging winds and hail, and an isolated tornado can't be ruled out. And that was the defining factor here that we pushed it to an alert day this morning, because the risk for hail and winds have been relatively consistent. We expected this to happen, but with the latest data overnight, tornado risk has increased to the point where we felt it warrants an alert day, just to make sure you guys are aware of the possible impacts of these showers and storms today. As expected, this morning has been rather quiet. It's been maybe a bit misty here and there, but overall, it's not been active. However, you see this line right here, see this warm nose moving over us? This is that warm front, and this is the area starting around 1 o'clock where we got to keep a close eye out for any rotating storms that form ahead of that approaching cold front. You can see here, temperatures already climbing into the 70s, pushing near 80 degrees this afternoon, humidity on the rise. And then following these storms, we do cool down by 7 to 8. As I mentioned, severe risk is done. We're going to track that risk for you this afternoon. We're going to go hour by hour and talk about more detailed impacts for you coming up in a few minutes. Gary.
Hey, Eric, thanks. And talk about severe weather. This was Sweetser, Indiana, Tuesday night. The powerful hailstorm left widespread damage, and now residents are facing cleanup. The hailstorm swept through just after 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Nearly every home within a 6-mile radius was hit. Crews spent the day Wednesday clearing debris, patching roofs, and preparing for more rain. Dozens and dozens of vehicles were damaged with dented hoods and shattered windshields. Brand new this noon in Eaton.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are entering alert mode between, well, I would say now until 7, 8 o'clock this evening for the potential for storms to turn severe ahead of an approaching frontal boundary. Here's a look at Oneonta, a location where personally I don't think will be as affected in regards to this approaching system as, say, areas to the west, and I'll explain why here in a second. Here's a look at this nuisance stationary front. And I call it nuisance because this has been the mechanism that's been bringing us these storms, downpours, sunshine, which we agree with probably for a lot of you, but then back to cold and back to wind. It's been a conveyor belt of winds and rain. And in the process, we have plenty of elevated winds moving up, down, around in circles. That's called wind shear. And there's a good amount of it enough here locally to produce the potential for severe storms. And in the yellow zone here is our level 2 out of 5 risk. And notice as you head farther south and west, or south and east, excuse me, the conditions for severe weather are a bit less likely, especially since once this front rolls through, it's heading into the overnight hours and the instability in the atmosphere begins to lower. So, as mentioned yesterday, biggest risk, damaging wind, strong wind gusts, and hail. So, hail and wind, the big concerns here. What elevated today to an alert day was the increased risk for tornadoes. We have around 5% risk now in this brown zone. Now, on a normal circumstance, we don't see these. We always see maybe 2% risk on a approaching frontal boundary. Anytime we see a 5% risk, we definitely have to take it seriously. Now, 5% obviously means we're not certainly going to see a tornado. It just means that the storms that can develop this afternoon have the potential of rotating and producing a tornado. And anytime that's a possibility, you guys need to know about it, because the last thing you want to do is be caught off guard by a storm coming in and then all of a sudden starting to rotate. So you see here, this is the time frame between 1 and 5 is the initial sunshine stage. We're building instability. We're building all this humidity and heat. Between 5 and 7, personally, I think, is the best opportunity for storms or supercells ahead of these storms to fire up. And if that's the case, that's when these storms could begin to rotate. So that's our concerning part. Once this heavy rain comes through, this thunder and lightning, maybe some gusty winds, maybe embedded rotation, we'll see. But following that, by 9 to 10 p.m., the front rolls through, the atmosphere is stable again. You can go to bed tonight, and you don't have to worry about an overnight thunderstorm roaring through the area. So that's the case, at least for the short term right now. So as a reminder, today's a Storm Tracker 2 alert day. As we go throughout the broadcast, of course, you can see it right there in the bottom of your screen right now. That's a QR code for our Storm Tracker 2 app. Incredible tool to use, especially when we enter severe weather season, because time is always important. And also, even if you're not near a TV or in a spot where you can get warnings, your phone is the best tool. So, of course, you have that. And, of course, if we do have anything that looks dangerous or anything tornadic, we'll, of course, be on live stream right on here on WKTV with any updates on that.
And even breaking into the programming as well.
That's right.
Eric, thank you. President Trump said the... And let's start this half hour like we started the one off at the top of the hour, with today being an alert day, a lot to look out for possibly.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't want to talk about just random things. I want to focus a lot about, the storm risk today. That's why I'm showing the same things I did the last half hour. I want to reiterate what's going on today. So again, as Gary mentioned, we have an alert day today. Here's the risk level, level 2 out of 5 for severe weather, between 1 and 7 today. So right now, not too much of a concern outside, but we can see what's causing this severe risk today, the sunshine moving in, and a lot of other parameters that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. But first, strong, possibly damaging winds and hail are the primary concerns here. Isolated tornadoes can't be ruled out, and that was the defining factor on what pushed us to make this an alert day. You see here the biggest risks, obviously, but the tornado risk has increased to the point where it's something that we have to mention versus kind of putting it off to the side saying it's a small possibility, which it is a small possibility, but it's no longer a fraction of a small possibility. So we look at the Yorkville Battery Live radar. Right now, so far things are rather quiet. Maybe you saw a bit of a passing shower briefly, but we're in this window right now between now and, say, 7, 8 o'clock. This is when that backside of that system rolls through, where we have pretty much all the ingredients present for storms to tap into those ingredients and turn severe. Temperatures are in the 70s, pushing near 80 this afternoon. Following the arrival of the frontal boundary, we're going to see storms, then scattered rain showers, and then a stable atmosphere. You can go to bed tonight knowing there's no overnight thunderstorms, nothing that will be concerning. So the time frame, again, right now during this warm and humid stretch. We're going to talk a bit more about this in a lot more detail, the time frame, the impacts, the ingredients, everything you need to know for the next few hours coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Pope Leo is in the Republic of...
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are in alert mode due to an approaching frontal boundary, providing us with some ingredients that could produce some strong storms, possibly severe storms. This is looking at Oneonta right now, where the temperature has already climbed to 73, some other spots mid-70s, pushing 80. Now, as we look at the radar and satellite, we can see here we do have some lifting warm air and this overall pretty consistent stationary front, which has pretty much been the story of the weather this week. Now, behind it, we've got some cooler weather as we head into Friday, but let's talk about the weather today. So, right here, you see this yellow zone? That is our slight risk, level 2 out of 5 risk for severe storms today. And with all the ingredients, we've got shear, we've got lift, we've got instability, and we've got moisture, the 4 main SLIM ingredients. Now, when it comes to the biggest risks, strong, possibly damaging winds are the first ingredients. Then, hail is the other possible risk here. So the 2 main risks. However, the reason why we issued an alert day is because the tornadic risk increased compared to yesterday, and especially by this afternoon. In fact, literally the latest update we're seeing right here puts a larger 5% risk over much of central New York. And this is why we're concerned about the weather this afternoon. So let's time it out here. This afternoon, 1 o'clock is that time frame where we gotta be weather aware. We got that sunshine working in, the temperatures climbed to near 80 degrees. We got all that moisture in the atmosphere, all that heat, thunderstorm fuel or cape. And now all we need is something to ignite those storms. And if they do, they can tap into those ingredients and become severe. So the time frame between 5 and 7 personally is, in my opinion, the best opportunity for storms to form. So that takes place again this evening. Once this frontal boundary rolls through, we're in the clear. It turns to some storms, some heavy rain, and then it ends and we actually cool off a little bit. So as a recap, again, this is the risk for the day today. You can see the yellow zone indicating our biggest concern, strong wind gusts and hail. Isolated tornadoes can't be ruled out. And when I define that, basically what it means is that we've got storms that can develop, and those storms can have the potential of producing a tornado. Not all of them will. In fact, we might not see any, but the ingredients are there. And anytime we see these types of ingredients, you guys are always the first to know. So, your 7-day forecast, below me, right there, that QR code, you can scan it. It takes you to the App Store, Google Play Store. You can download our Storm Tracker 2 app. You'll be up to date with the latest on any warnings that get sent right to your phone. And following again this evening around 7 o'clock, the risk is pretty much over and done with, and we expect a quieter, potentially maybe a little rainy, but not too bad of a day on Friday. Sunshine on Saturday. Gary?
Eric, thanks. We are back with News Talk, and it's one of my favorites of the year.
With Jason Palace.
Kristen is on assignment. We're going to hear from her a little bit later on in the show. But first, severe weather. Chief Meteorologist Bill Card is tracking it all from the Weather Center tonight. It's an alert day. It's on the way. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, so far my gut is saying that this is not going to play out in a big way.
Okay, that's good
Everything
news.
that I'm seeing says that the next couple of hours were the time where it would be bad.
Okay.
By the time these get here, the environment isn't as favorable. It doesn't mean we're out of the woods. I just think that things have stepped in a different direction and things are looking better. And another thing to pass along is we do not have a severe thunderstorm watch in place. We don't have any watches in place so far. So we're kind of on the same page with the Storm Prediction Center here as we're just watching and waiting here. Again, we do expect storms to move in from the west, but the environment to create strong storms is here, and it will be diminishing as we head into this evening. So we'll continue to watch the radar closely. Wow, what a warm day. 81 degrees. A very warm April afternoon. We have the humidity in place. Things will start to cool off this evening. Again, we'll continue to watch some rain and thunder this evening and just stay cautiously optimistic. Some nicer weather days ahead tomorrow and Saturday. And then looking ahead, it looks like the bottom falls out Sunday and Monday. We do have some much colder weather on the way. Temperatures will be in the 70s with a few thunderstorms this evening. Again, tracking a couple of warm days before some chilly weather arrives. So look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. The driver of a car crashed into a tractor trailer.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening, Central New York. We have an alert day, but we're being watchful here. I think the level of storms, or at least the odds of severe weather, are diminishing this evening. We're not out of the woods, but the conditions that we were concerned about haven't quite materialized, and I'll explain. Well, I've looked at downtown Utica. We've got the warmth, we've got the wind, lots and lots of energy in the environment, but no storms. We were expecting to see a few scattered storms at this time, and the environment favors some pretty strong ones, but they're not there, which is good news. We're going to continue to watch things very, very closely. We do have a line of storms to the west, but these are not expected to line up with the prime conditions for severe weather. We're not out of the woods, but again, I think things have taken a step down in terms of the concern here this evening. The one thing I am watching is this particular storm just north of, well, this would be north of Geneva, heading towards Oswego. If this is the strongest one in the line, it's also kind of by itself. See how it's smaller and it's ahead of the line. These are the ones to watch. It's the only one to watch. This would track into Lewis County, possibly into northern Herkimer County. So we do have to watch that one. But other than that, when this arrives later this evening, I think it's going to be primarily rain and maybe a few rumbles of thunder. Of course, again, we're going to continue to watch this very closely and not completely let our guard down, continue to stay weather aware over the next few hours. And again, one way to do that, to download our Storm Tracker 2 weather app. That'll give you alerts on the go and also when lightning is nearby and heavy rainfall. We got to 81 today. It feels like a summer afternoon. But again, things are going to radically change as we head into Sunday. A very strong cold front arrives. We're still expecting snow showers Monday. Unfortunately, that has not changed from the forecast end. Westmoreland, 82 degrees. Deansboro, 80. Little Falls, 85. Morris, 82. Unadilla, 82. Norwich, 81 degrees. As we look at the bigger picture, a cold front moves in from the west, producing showers and thunderstorms this evening. And this is what we're going to be tracking here. So this line arrives between about 7 to 8 p.m., maybe a little bit later. Again, showers, a few downpours. This moves out pretty quickly. A few sprinkles are possible very early Friday morning. It's a cloudy, gloomy start to the day, but it does look like a pretty nice afternoon, very spring-like. Temperatures will be in the 60s. That's spring weather, not what we're dealing with today. We're looking at dry conditions tomorrow night. Saturday starts out dry. Actually, it looks like a lovely Saturday. Warm. Temperatures climb into the 70s. And then here comes a strong cold front that's going to be delivering a big change in the weather. Rain tonight, picking up about a quarter to a half an inch region-wide. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies. Storms coming to an end. Low of 56. Tomorrow, again, we're looking at partly sunny skies. Temperatures will be in the upper 60s. We'll be in the upper 70s on Saturday, close to 80, but I think we'll come up just shy. Some showers Sunday and a chilly day, cold Monday, snow showers 38. Just a reminder, don't plant anything sensitive to frost.
No.
We're looking at temperatures in the 20s heading into Sunday night as well as Monday night.
But it'll get better.
Oh yeah, it'll warm up next week and it looks lovely.
It's one of those potholes in our road.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Bill. Yesterday was a special meteorologist, Bill Curtis. It's an active alert day, but you guys are just like, it's dry here.
Yeah, we're
compared to
kind
earlier.
of pumping the brakes here.
Yeah.
I think that we were expecting to see storms by now. They're to the west. There's a line to the west. But what we were concerned about were things that were developing ahead of it. Hasn't happened. Air's dry. That's why we think the storms haven't materialized. Notice this one over Oswego. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is to our west. This is going to end up going into Lewis County if it maintains its course. But again, we just haven't seen this sort of activity fire up yet. When this does arrive from the west, I think this is going to bring us rain and thunder. So we'll get some weather with this. But again, the intense weather just hasn't come together yet. So we're cautiously optimistic here heading into tonight. Again, a closer look at that severe thunderstorm. Again, this could be a nasty storm as it continues to move to the north. But again, this is just the one that we're watching here. And I think that will probably be the case here for the rest of the evening. 81 degrees. It is so warm outside. It feels more like a summer day, and it's windy. As we get into this evening, again, we're going to be tracking, again, a round of storms that rolls through. Temperatures will cool off. It looks like a couple of nice days ahead tomorrow and Saturday before the weather turns. Look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. If you played the Powerball drawing yesterday and you bought...
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening, Central New York. We are continuing to watch the radar tonight, but things are looking better and less favorable for severe weather. Live look in Oneonta, temperature of 79 degrees. And here's why I'm saying this. The storms that we were expecting to be the big bad ones today should have happened by now. The environment is most favorable for strong weather now and as we head into the next couple of hours, that environment is going to shift to the east. We do have storms moving in from the west, but these are not going to line up with the conditions in place currently. There's one exception, though, and that's this storm just east of Oswego. You can see this one is pretty nasty. There's a severe thunderstorm warning with this for Oswego County. This is going to track to the north. In fact, I'm going to step away from the radar and show you where this is heading. If it continues to maintain its present course, I think this is going to be moving in a line like this. So this is going to be across Lewis County, southern Lewis County, and towards Old Forge. Again, assuming it holds together, nothing dramatic changes here. This would be more of a concern for the North Country. That line of weather to the west, I'm thinking that produces more of the standard rain and maybe rumbles of thunder. Again, the conditions didn't quite line up today. Always be on guard, though. If you're going to be heading out this evening, it's not a bad idea to just have the app handy, our WKTV weather app. You get alerts to your phone, and even just a notification when heavy rain is moving in. It's very, very helpful. We hit 81 degrees today. We have had a warm stretch of weather this week, and for some of you, you might be thinking it's time to get the garden ready, but just hold off for now. We've got some very cold weather happening early next week, 2 days with temperatures in the 20s. So frost is in the forecast. It's not time to plant the garden, at least the types of plants that are sensitive to frost. There are things that you can plant that can handle temperatures in the 20s. But if you're not sure, just hold off for now. We're looking at mid to late May for the last frost of the year, or I should say the season. Boy, the year would be impressive, right? Whitesboro, 78 degrees, Clinton, 85, Barneveld, 75, Gray, 79, Inlet, 70 degrees, 79 Cooperstown, 80 in Edmonston. Just a very, very warm mid-April afternoon. A cold front arrives tonight, producing showers, and again, a couple of rumbles of thunder. This will roll through later this evening, closer to sunset, and then things start to quiet down. A few lingering showers late tonight. A gloomy start to Friday, cloudy skies, but we should see some sunshine. A very pleasant Friday afternoon. Temperatures will be in the mid-60s, a very spring-like day, unlike today, feeling very summer-like. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies. The weather looks nice to start Saturday, and then a strong cold front moves in from the west. That will bring a big change in the weather for the second half of the weekend. Mostly cloudy tonight. Showers come to an end, a low of 56. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies, temperatures in the upper 60s. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. 79 Saturday, a cold front arrives Saturday nights. Rain ends early Sunday. Cold enough for snow showers Monday, 38. We're back into the 50s Tuesday and Wednesday, and low 60s by Thursday. We'll be right back.
With Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Lighter and later, that's what our team of meteorologists are now thinking in terms of thunderstorms they've been watching develop all day. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis. He's tracking what and when we can expect this.
Well, I do have some good news tonight. The severe weather is just not aligning itself. The conditions are very, very favorable for bad storms now, but they just haven't developed. The storms to the west, by the time they get here, will be running into an unfavorable environment. There's only one exception, and it's this storm just north of Syracuse. This one has been showing signs of producing some wind damage. It had a severe thunderstorm warning with it, doesn't at the moment. This is expected to go into Lewis County and pass close to Old Forge, but this would go north of the Mohawk Valley. This would go north of Rome. And I think this is really the only one to watch here in terms of any chance of severe weather. So again, we're in much better shape now compared to just a couple of hours ago. And I think for most of us, this will be a relatively uneventful evening. 82 degrees, the warmest we've been so far this year. We've got a relatively low dew point. That's been the limiting factor for storms, believe it or not. Not enough humidity, even though it feels very warm and very humid. Round of rain and thunderstorms this evening. Looks like a couple of nice weather days tomorrow and Saturday, and then the bottom drops out Sunday and Monday. Some very chilly weather on the way. Again, we do expect some rain, some rumbles of thunder this evening, but the more typical kind we see around here. Temperatures will be in the 70s. We are tracking some much colder weather heading into the second half of the weekend. Look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. The driver of a car crashed into
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening. The severe weather threat is greatly diminishing this evening. We do have some storms that we're tracking, but we don't have any big concerns from here going forward, and I'll explain why in just a minute. Live look in downtown Utica. What a day. It has been warm. It has been beautiful. It's been sunny. It's actually been very warm. We hit 82 this afternoon. We just missed the record by just a couple of degrees, 85 back in 2002. So today, the conditions that were expected to produce severe weather are present. The storms themselves did not develop. We think it's because the air has been too dry, not enough humidity, believe it or not. In fact, the conditions that are most favorable are now starting to move to the east, and things are starting to wind down in terms of the most concerning part of this. This rain that's moving in is not going to catch up to that environment. The only exception are some storms ahead of it, so there is this one to watch that's in Oswego County. This could turn severe. This could produce some damaging winds as it moves into Lewis County and extreme northern Oneida County. And this will eventually go into Herkimer County, closer to Old Forge, but that's really the only concern out there. This round of rain that moves in really shouldn't do much. It's not expected to get any stronger. It's producing mostly rain. In fact, there's not even any lightning with it at the moment. Most of the lightning associated with this line is with this northern storm over Oswego. Again, a closer look at that. Again, it is producing some strong weather, but that's the exception rather than the rule. If you are heading out this evening, still not a bad idea to have the app. While I don't expect any alerts to go out, it will alert you if there's heavy rain moving in or if there's any lightning, which, again, is going to be very helpful if you're trying to enjoy a very pleasant evening here in central New York. We hit 82 Monday. We're down to 38. Big changes ahead. Our sky watchers checking in. Whitesboro 78 degrees, Clinton 85, Gray 79, Mohawk 83, Worcester with 79. This rain is part of a cold front that moves in from the west. This will slightly knock the temperature down tomorrow, making it a lot more comfortable. Rain moves out tonight. Overnight lows drop down into the 50s. A gloomy start to Friday, but we do expect some sunshine, and I think it's looking dry. Looks like a nice afternoon with temperatures in the mid-60s. Mostly clear tomorrow night. Saturday, the weather looks nice. Temperatures start out in the low 50s. Sunshine gives way to clouds. Warm temperatures will make their way into the mid to upper 70s. Some rain this evening. Most places pick up a quarter to half an inch. Tonight, rain comes to an end, a low of 56. Tomorrow, clouds give way to sunshine, a high of 68. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Pleasant on Saturday. A nice start to the weekend, but Sunday is going to be incredibly different. Rain in the morning, 45 for the high. 38 Monday. Snow showers are possible, but it will be a long, distant memory heading into next week. Temperatures will be close to 60 by Thursday.
That's one of the easiest things to forget about.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
we had snow? Nah,
Well,
it's gone. All right, thanks, Bill. Still to come on news.
With Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get to those stories in a moment. First, we had some storms roll through parts of the area this evening. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis, who's tracking the rain that's coming through and why things changed throughout the day. At first, there was concern that these were going to be some heavy-duty storms.
yeah, the conditions just didn't line up. We had the environment. The storms didn't develop. They developed later. And we still saw something, but the severity was not as high. And again, not upset about that, although we don't like getting things wrong. If it's going to happen, we'd rather have it happen this way. We're looking at some showers moving through central New York, some rumbles of thunder to the east, still some lightning strikes out towards Albany. The back edge of this is rolling through central New York. We did get one storm that produced some hail across northern Oneida County. This was in Forestport from Cara. We did get some hail, some wind, and that storm was the strongest in our area. And again, it moved across the northern part of Oneida County, but that was kind of the exception rather than the rule. 61 degrees, the current temperature. We're tracking rain coming to an end this evening. A couple of nice weather days ahead tomorrow and Saturday, and then it gets much colder here heading into the second half of the weekend. Mostly cloudy tonight. Rain comes to an end, a low of 56. Again, tracking some lovely weather heading into the start of the weekend. Look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. New tonight.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We're taking a live look in downtown Utica. We've got rain that continues to fall across central New York. The thunderstorms with this have now moved to the east. We did see some rumbles of thunder and a couple of spots getting some stronger weather, but that was the exception rather than the rule. As we head into tonight, this back edge of rain will continue to move east, and we will get a chance to dry out. The weather is looking very nice over the next couple of days. We hit 82 degrees this afternoon. We almost broke the record high, which was 85. That was set back in 2002. By Monday, we're down into the upper 30s. We got a dramatic change in the weather. Most of this happens Sunday and into Sunday night as a cold front arrives. It's a pretty nice evening out there. It actually feels like a late spring evening or an early summer evening with temperatures in the low 60s and again some late rain. Some slightly cooler weather arrives tomorrow before the warmth returns for Saturday. Again, we're tracking this cold front that is moving across central New York. And again, things didn't quite line up for strong storms as we were thinking. Again, a good thing. This cold front continues to move to the east. And again, tonight things will quiet down. Could see a few lingering sprinkles tonight, but it is mostly cloudy and mainly dry. Overnight lows drop down into the low 50s. Friday starts out gloomy with overcast skies. I do think the sunshine returns as we head into the afternoon. Temperatures climbing to the mid to upper 60s. The weather looks clear tomorrow night. Overnight lows will fall into the upper 40s. And then Saturday looks nice. We're expecting lots of sunshine early in the day. Some clouds will start to work in from the west. We are tracking a cold front that arrives Saturday night. It's producing some rain and a sharp drop in the temperature heading into Sunday. Forecast heading into tonight, mostly cloudy skies. Again, any rain comes to an end, a low of 56. Tomorrow, clouds give way to sunshine, a pleasant afternoon, and again, not as warm, but pretty comfortable out there. Really nice spring day, 68 for the high. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast, 79 Saturday, partly sunny skies. Rain returns Saturday night. It's a chilly one Sunday, 45 rain, especially in the morning. Snow showers take place Sunday night into Monday. A few lingering snow showers early, 38. The weather turns sharply warmer, sunshine, pleasant. 50 Tuesday, temperatures close to 60 by Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be right back.
With Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to get to all those stories in a moment. First, we had some storms roll through part of the area this evening. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis. A lot calmer now. Still raining out there, but things could have been a little bit worse based on the conditions earlier today, right?
Yeah, the storms that were expected to develop this afternoon just never materialized, and that was the environment we were concerned about with wind shear and strong weather. Bottom line is, we did get some storms this evening. They weren't all that strong, and we didn't get what we were expecting here. As we take a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar, rain continues across central New York. These storms are heading to the east, at least the rain, I should say. There's some lightning and thunder out towards Albany, but again, we are looking at pretty quiet weather for the rest of tonight. We did get some hail, so I don't want to completely exclude the folks that were dealing with this up north. There was one storm that moved across northern Oneida County that produced some hail and some wind that moved across Boonville. This was taken in Forestport by Cara, and it did pack a bit of a punch here in central Herkimer County. Current temperature 60 degrees. Heading into tonight, we're looking at overnight lows down into the 50s. Rain comes to an end. We're tracking a couple of nice days before it gets chilly. Look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. New tonight, the general.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We're taking a live look in downtown Utica. Rain continues to move through central New York. It's almost over. This is all part of a cold front. We're on the back end of it, and we will see a few very light showers here heading into tonight. The severe weather with this didn't quite materialize. We did get a couple of thunderstorms this evening. We did get one strong storm in northern Oneida County that moved into central Herkimer County and Hamilton County. but that was it. That did produce some hail. The rest of the area, again, seeing not a whole lot. What we did see today, the warmth. 82 was the high. They were very close to the record, 85, set back in 2002. So we were just a couple of degrees shy of that. But look at Monday, 38. Yeah, we're going to go in a very different direction here. So much cooler weather is on the way. The next 2 days look really nice. Enjoy it. Get out and enjoy some very nice spring weather before the cold returns. Thankfully, this time of the year, the cold weather is short-lived, and that's exactly what's going to be the case here this time around. Temperatures near 60 this evening, relatively mild for this time of the year. As we look at the bigger picture, this cold front continues to march to the east. And again, we do get a chance to dry out tonight. Temperatures will drop into the 50s overnight. We'll bottom out in the mid-50s. It's a gloomy start to Friday. Lots of cloud cover in the morning. I think we'll slowly see sunshine by the afternoon. Temperatures climb into the 60s. Again, a very pleasant spring day. Skies look clear tomorrow night, which is going to be interesting. More on what I'm talking about in just a second. Saturday, we start out with sunshine, and then we will see just a few clouds later in the day. It's warm, bit of a breeze, temperatures in the 70s. This rain arrives Saturday night, and that's going to be the catalyst for some much cooler weather. With skies clear tomorrow night, we might have an opportunity to see the northern lights. There's expected to be a geomagnetic storm, according to the Space Prediction Weather Center. This means we might be able to see them. We'll look to the north, and we'll have an update for you tomorrow. We'll see how this plays out. Sky conditions look clear, so I think it's worth passing along, and we need a lot of luck to see these, even here in upstate New York. Mostly cloudy skies, a low of 56 tonight. Tomorrow, decreasing clouds, high of 68. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Pleasant Saturday, 79. A warm afternoon. It does get a lot colder Sunday. Again, we're tracking that cold front that moves through at night, produces widespread rain, showers in the morning, 45, 38 Monday, snow showers, back to 50 Tuesday, sunshine, pleasant, highs near 60 Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be right back.